Go live now to the Assistant Treasurer, Minister for Housing, Michael Sukkar. Michael, thanks very much for your time. Just some reaction to that interview there by James O'Doherty with David McBride. Do you see this episode as inevitably leading to more whistleblower protection and also for journalists as well in terms of press freedom?
Well, Kieran, I think we've got a lot of protections built into the system, and I think we should always boil these things down to the known facts rather than some of the commentary in there about tyrannical, so-called tyrannical governments. The reality here is for our democracy to function, for our government to function, for our public service to function, confidential, secret information has to be treated that way. And I can tell you as a minister, no department would be able to function properly unless everybody abides by the fact that deliberations, documents, policies are confidential. And if you had a system where, left, right and centre, people started to flout those accepted norms of the public service or the military, it gets very, very hard to maintain a strong democracy like we do.
Well, it's a simple equation, though, really. Do you think there needs to be more protections for press freedom in Australia at the moment? Do you think they're adequate, given the events that we've seen last week?
Well, look, it's not part of my portfolio, so I haven't done a deep dive into the existing protections that are there, but my sense would be no, Laura. I think we have seen some commentary over the last week or so that's probably been a little bit exaggerated in my view. I think we do have a very open and free press in this country, and as someone who's in a position like mine, I feel as though we do have strong scrutiny, and politicians sometimes, including me, don't like it, but we accept that it's a healthy part of our democracy. So I think we've got a pretty healthy media in Australia. I would never be against looking into how we can improve it, but I don't think there's any systemic failures at the moment.
We do have to look at a few other issues this morning, and Sukkar, this unionist, Anthony Albanese, he's taken a very strong stance against him. Is the coalition trying to capitalise in a political sense as well by reigniting that integrity bill that Angus Taylor was talking about yesterday?
No, I think we're saying to Anthony Albanese, put your money where your mouth is. He can't, on one hand, deplore the activities of John Sukkar, the leader of the Victorian branch of the CFMMEU, a union that's broken the law 188 times this financial year, broken the law 2,000 times since we were first elected in 2013, paid $16 million of fines, and have donated $4 million to the Labor Party. So I would say to Anthony Albanese, put your money where your mouth is. Firstly, he should back our ensuring integrity bill as and when and if it comes before the Parliament. And secondly, he should say today that the Labor Party will cease accepting donations from the CFMMEU. Put your money where your mouth is, and in fact, should also commit to repaying any donations made by that union to the Labor Party at the last election. I mean, if Anthony Albanese is trying to break from the past, the Labor Party and the CFMMEU being joined at the hip, he's got to put his money where his mouth is.
So this is designed as a political wedge. It's a bit cynical, isn't it?
No, it's not a wedge at all, Laura. This was law that was put up to the Senate long before this occurred.
I mean, that and having to pay back donations, it's going a little far.
Well, Laura, you are one of the preeminent journalists you are, and you've seen over many years. I've relayed some statistics. 2,000. Yeah, sure,
but you're talking about Sukkar here.
This is not new.
You're talking about Sukkar here, and should the entire union be responsible for the actions of one individual? I mean, that's what it would effectively be if they were to repay donations.
Well, firstly, John Setkar's not a low-ranking union official, Laura. He heads up the Victorian branch, and he's very, very influential, not just within that union, but the ACTU more broadly and the Labor Party. And secondly, I've relayed some statistics. 188 breaches of the law just this financial year. 2,000 breaches of the law. We've got reams and reams of judgments from various courts around Australia deploring the activities of the CFMMEU, and to say that, you know, Anthony Albanese's had a conversion on the road to Damascus about this union over the last few days is absolutely ridiculous. We have seen this sort of conduct from that union.
But he's only been leader for 2 weeks. I mean, credit where credit's due, isn't it?
Well, this is why I'm saying put your money where your mouth is. If he's trying to break from the past, it's not good enough just to admonish Mr Sukkar. And, I mean, we haven't seen a great deal of success from that position he's taken just yet. But put your money where your mouth is. I think people would give him much more credit if he committed to repaying those donations and not accepting any further donations from a extraordinarily militant, if not criminal, union.
Let's look at something closer to your portfolio now. What will be the first order of business when Parliament resumes in July? Will it be getting this entire package of tax cuts through, or are you contemplating breaking up this package because the economy, it would seem, might need that shot in the arm?
Well, look, the Minister for Finance, I think, has made very clear the government's position on this. And I think so soon after an election, everybody would expect that a government seeks to faithfully deliver on the policies it took into that election. We've outlined a very comprehensive, not just in this budget, but over the last 2 budgets, very comprehensive income tax relief for low and middle income Australians in particular. It all hangs together. When you come up with a budget, when you are looking to fuel economic growth as we have, increase participation and aspiration, a plan like this all hangs together. The Labor Party never understand that in order to deliver tax relief for 10 million Australians and more, the tax plan as a whole needs to be passed. That is what we took to the election, and I think you would rightfully criticise us if we didn't seek to faithfully deliver upon the things that we took to the election very openly, and the Prime Minister and the Treasurer and the Minister for Finance spoke about ad nauseum during the entire election campaign. So that's a long-winded way of saying, Laura, that we will be seeking to deliver on the mandate that the Australian people gave us.
Senator Patrick of the Centre Alliance, he says that the criticism that's been levelled at him by Peter Dutton in the recent dramas over press freedom and the criticism that Senator Patrick made of Home Affairs, that this is not going to affect his thinking on whether or not to back the tax cuts. You would welcome that, wouldn't you, the fact that this crossbench is willing to differentiate between one issue and another?
Well, I mean, I'm not surprised about that from Senator Patrick. I think sensible parliamentarians, whomever they are, deal with issues on a issue-by-issue basis. I wouldn't expect anything else from Senator Patrick, who's held in high regard. There will be always times where, on one hand, we have criticisms of one another between political parties, and then there'll be other times where we can agree on things.
He might be held in high regard by you, but not Peter Dutton. Peter Dutton said he's always found Senator Patrick to be the sort of person, the sort of character who would seek to misrepresent the Secretary's words.
Well, Kieran, look, being in a Treasury portfolio, we will deal with all of the Senate crossbench on Treasury matters, and we will judge them on our interactions with them. And I must say, in my former role, I've had good relationships with the crossbench. It doesn't mean we don't have times where there's argy-bargy and disagreement, but I'll leave those comments to Peter. As far as we're concerned, we are focused on delivering what we took to the election, what we have a mandate to do, and we want to put more money in the pocket of Australians. The Labor Party have a very, very clear choice. Do they want to frustrate that, or are they still having the world's longest dummy spit from an election that they were convinced they were going to win, when the Australian people have said to them, no, we back the coalition's tax plans? So really the test is on the Labor Party, and it'll be interesting to see if they accept the verdict of the Australian people.
We will see in July. Michael Sukkar, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Laura and Kieran.